Great. So welcome everyone. This is one of the webinars of the project Social Entrepreneurship in Local Communities, funded by the Erasmus Plus program. The project is trying to consider the topic of how to develop new entrepreneurial initiative based on the needs of local communities that could have a potential in the framework of social innovation and social enterprise. And today our webinar will be about crowdfunding for culture, because one of the action, I would say the most innovative action for an Erasmus Plus project would be to create a crowdfunding platform to host the campaign of the future or actual entrepreneurs that the project will involve. I'm Paolo Montemurro, the director of Materahub. For those of you who know Materahub, we are working on supporting the cultural and creative sector here in the south of Italy, but then also through European cooperation. So we thought that it would have been very interesting to tackle the topic of crowdfunding from the perspective of culture, because while we are more used to hear about crowdfunding for initiative with a social cause, for social enterprises or project of social innovation and community, it is less normal to hear about crowdfunding used to fund projects in the cultural and creative sector. And today, to have an insight in crowdfunding and crowdfunding for culture, I have the pleasure to be with Elisa Patriarca, which is Assistant to Regional Development at EUROCROWD. EUROCROWD is the European network that is promoting crowdfunding. And Elisa today will guide us through some more general information about what crowdfunding is, something more specific about what has already happened in Europe around the topic of crowdfunding for culture. And then it will be about having some examples of successful campaigns that were run by cultural institutions from different profiles, so public, private, and so on. But yeah, just some rules for everyone. Of course, please keep the mic muted unless, of course, you want to make a question. There are two possibilities. One is that you write in the chat and I will bring your question to Elisa. The other one is that, since we are not that many, you can open the mic and make the question. There will be a dedicated session for Q&A at the end of the presentation. But again, feel free to use the chat for any comments and I will make sure that I'm reading that. So, Elisa.
Thank you, Paolo. Welcome, everyone. I first would like to share my slides so we can start the presentation. Okay. Desktop. Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So as Paolo introduced you, I'm Elisa Patriarca and I work for EUROCROWD since last year, more or less. We are the European network for crowdfunding. And today I would like to talk with you, and not to you, about crowdfunding and what it is, how it can be used, and to report some example of the application of crowdfunding in the cultural and creative sector. So let's just skip quickly on the agenda, if we can call it in this way. Okay, so first I will present to you us as European Crowdfunding Network, our mission, our activity, how we operate in the market. And then we will move on understanding what crowdfunding is, We will see the definition of crowdfunding, the models, and then we will move on the focus of this webinar, which is crowdfunding for culture, as Paolo said before, and on what we have done in the past and what we would like to do in the future for the application of crowdfunding for cultural initiatives and projects. At the end of the session, we will have some example of how crowdfunding platform works and how crowdfunding campaigns are structured in order to give to you the chance to understand better and to see what we are talking about. And then we will end the session with a Q&A, and I would recommend to you to, report your experience if you have one in crowdfunding, and maybe ask a question, because I think it's fundamental to discuss about it in order to better understand how crowdfunding works. So feel free to stop me and ask me everything you want in every time of the presentation. I will be here at your disposal, and I will start. So we as EUROCROWD, we are an association, a European association with 75 members across 16 countries. What does it mean, members? Members in our association are every type of organization which has a direct interest in crowdfunding. They could be platforms, they could be public organization, companies, they could be association that wants to participate in this kind of network and in our activity in order to innovate, represent, promote, protect the European crowdfunding industry at large. Why? Because we think that cooperate in this sector is a key element to let the others have the possibility to access to different funding sources. We work with the European project, but also with the local companies, association, and organization. And our activities is based on 4 pillars: policy, training, research, and conduct. What we do for policy, as a kind of lobbying agency, we keep this open and continuous dialogue with the European institution. So we try to create a bridge between the European institution and the national government in order to coordinate the work on crowdfunding sector. This is a double-way process. On one way, from the bottom-up process from the national organization and operators to let the European institution understand their interests and needs. And on the other way, it is a top-down process, because we will support the organization in the accomplishment of the European regulation. For trainings, we do research, publication, events, we do annual conferences, online and live trainings, seminar, webinar, and so on, because we think that the most difficult obstacle to the spread of crowdfunding is to know it. So the more people know crowdfunding, the more they use it. Research is quite connected to trainings, because we do autonomous research, we do research for European projects, so European Commission and sometimes European Parliament funds our research, and we do consulting services for public and private entities. All our activities are under code of conduct, which wants to which is represented by high quality standard and best practices in work and in the initiatives that we promoted, based on transparency and fairness. So this is what we do. and how we do it. And now we will move on considering what crowdfunding is and its definition. So the Joint Research Center of the European Commission defined crowdfunding as a way of raising money to finance projects and businesses, which enables fundraisers to collect money from a large number of people via online platforms. What does it mean? That crowdfunding is just an activity which will be performed in online platforms. Crowdfunding is not the fundraising on Facebook. Crowdfunding is not the people who asking for you money through events, okay? Crowdfunding is on crowdfunding platforms and is a way to raising money from a large number of people. So the difference between the traditional source of financing and crowdfunding is that you have a greater number of people that can potentially contribute to your project. So I don't know if someone have experience with the European project, where you submit your project to get funds from the European Commission. Usually there is a commission that will value your project, and they are like 5 to 10 people who decided if your project is valuable and merit to be financed. This is a completely different approach, because you don't have just 5 or 10 person who will evaluate your project, but you have your project is open potentially to everyone, because it is online, it is on internet, so everyone can reach it, value it, and decide it if they want to contribute or not. Okay, so let's move on. What are the main actors in every crowdfunding initiative? Crowdfunding involves 3 actors: the crowd, which are those who fund your project; the platform, which is kind of the market on which the money are exchanged; and the creator, which is those who are asking for money. Okay, and they interact on the platform. So creators needs money. They decide to publish their project on the crowdfunding platform, and the crowd, who has access to the crowdfunding platform, but can be also related to the organization of the project creator, decide to contribute with money to the campaign. Okay, and of course, in return for the contribution, the crowd can receive a number of tangible or intangibles that depends on the crowdfunding model. Okay, if you don't have question on this, on the actors and their interactions, I will move on, explain to you the different type of models and which are their characteristics. Let me open the chat so I can switch. Okay, so we have 4 main crowdfunding models, and the first 2 are considered non-financing models, while the second 2 are financial models, because at the base of the equity and lending models, there are mechanisms of finance. In the first case, it is investment. In the second, it is loan. But let's start with the first one, which is donation. The donation model is basically open to all type of organization, and in return to their contribution, backers or donator do not expect anything. Okay, so basically they decide to donate for philanthropic reason, because they like your project, because they feel the cause of your project, and so they decide to support you. The reward model, also this one is potentially open to all type of organization, but it's different from the first one, because the model needs that required that the project creator provides some tangible rewards for supporters. They could be objects, they could be services, but contributors decide to donate in part because they feel your cause, but also because they have an economic interest in having the rewards that you decided to give to them, okay? As we will see later, the creative and cultural initiative in crowdfunding usually use the reward model because it's the easier, and they can easily promote their crowdfunding campaign and structured rewards to finance their project. Then the equity model is dedicated to startup and small and medium enterprises that are no longer in the market, and they provide a financial reward for investors. Okay, so investors can get in exchange for their investment either a share of the firm in the case of a startup, or a fixed share of future profits. So it's kind of an investment that needs to launch the startup, and then the organization who is promoting the campaign has the duty to get back once they realize their project. Okay. The last one is lending, which is dedicated primarily to small and medium enterprises well positioned in the market. So they provide to investors a financial reward. But what is different between equity and lending model is that the investors get a repayment in a fixed deadline and with a fixed interest rate. So, for example, if I decided to invest into into Paolo project, and he is promoting a crowdfunding campaign in lending platform, I know that my investment will be paid back from Paolo in, I don't know, for example, 4 years at 7% interest of rate. Okay. So investors decide to contribute just for an economic return. It was the most difficult part, this one. But if you have not questions, I'll move on. Okay. So let's see now what is crowdfunding for culture. Crowdfunding for culture is the initiative that was promoted for the first time in 2016 by IDEA Consult, European Crowdfunding Network, and ECORIS, just to understand how crowdfunding can be applied to cultural sector. So basically, the European Parliament decided to finance this research to study and analyze the best practices in the Europe's crowdfunding market in order to connect creative and cultural organizations to crowdfunding operators and identify what was the most important initiatives on what types of platform that contributed to finance cultural projects. Okay, so it was done research which ended in 2017, and this research was published and investigated different points. The way crowdfunding works, so in general, how it works, what are the main actors, and how it can be applied for cultural and creative sector. They investigated the type of projects and funds that crowdfunding used for, the number of platforms that operate in the cultural sector, what are the best and worst practices that project creators can do or shouldn't do in their campaigns. And they reported also example of match funding with public grants or private sponsorship. I would like to stay a little bit longer in the last point, because crowdfunding, yes, is an alternative source of finance, but it can be combined also with other form of finance. I will provide to you an example so it makes easier to you to understand how. For example, if you have a project of 30,000 euro, okay, and you don't have this money, and maybe your bank decided to finance your project for 20,000 euro instead of the total amount of your project, you can decide to take the money from the bank loan, for example, and so you have already 20,000 euro. And the last 10,000 euro, you decided to do a crowdfunding in order to cover all the amount of the project, okay? And in this way, you can realize your project and having this kind of co-financing mechanism. So if you want to see the website of the initiative, I would like to just spend some time to show you. This is the website, and here you can find all the outcomes of the project, okay? So you have in the first part here in crowdfunding some theory about what crowdfunding is, how it works, what are the platforms mapped in the Europe for, of course, cultural sector, okay? We are just talking about it. This is not all the crowdfunding platforms in Europe for all the models, for all the initiatives. We are just talking about cultural initiatives that could take place in different platform models, okay? So you have here a brief explanation of the models that we already seen, okay? The description of the cost of structure of the platforms and how platforms works that we will see later, okay? I will explain it to you later. And all the interesting things about the initiatives, you have here the report, okay? So if you are interested in reading it and understand why and how crowdfunding could be an ally in collecting resources, I really suggest you to take a look of it. Another outcome was the map of all the platforms which operates in the sector. This is very useful because if tomorrow you want to create your own crowdfunding campaign and promote your project, you have a list here of platforms that you can use, or you can at least consider to publish your campaign, okay? And that's very useful. And then there is also the resources that they use, examples, the news about the data of initiatives and volumes of money collected, okay? And of course, the description of the European project, okay? So let's come back to the presentation. Okay. Let's see now what we want to do in future. So what we are working on for future, for combined crowdfunding for the cultural sector. We decided to present to the European institution a new proposal, which is called Culture for Impact. And EUROCROWD is the lead of this project, but is part of a consortium with more than 6 partners. And we want to empower the European cultural industry with crowdfunding, because we think that it is innovative, because we think that it gives to cultural organization the possibility to express themselves and be economic independent, okay, to realize their project. Who are the beneficiaries? We think this proposal to specific organization, to NGOs and non-profit association, but also to all the association which are involved in and work for the creative and cultural sector. For people from disadvantaged background, because we saw a lot of people which decided to become professional in crowdfunding and that had the opportunity to enter in the market job as expert of the sector. So we think that trainings could also be an opportunity to everyone to know something about crowdfunding that honestly is not already well known. To cities and local communities, of course, to improve the impact that this project have on local communities and local areas, to donation and reward-based crowdfunding platforms, and to local authorities, and of course the project partners. Now the question could be how do you want to do it? If in the previous project, European project, you have seen just research activities, okay, now we want to provide some training activities to this organization, and also we would like to give to them the chance to promote their own campaign or to create their own platform. And also we will provide also consultancy and impact assessment of the initiatives that they will promote, okay? But this is a proposal, as I said before, so we have to receive the approval of the European institution, and then we will hope to receive it, of course, and then we can start with this other project. Okay. So it's time to see some examples, because I suppose that, I don't know, maybe some of you have seen a crowdfunding platform or a crowdfunding campaign before today, or not, I don't know. So me and Paolo decided to present to you both. So we will see how a platform is structured and how it works. So they are around Europe, basically, but also in the globe in general. Every crowdfunding platform is structured similarly. So we showed you one Italian platform, but if you are curious and want to investigate more, you can freely Google crowdfunding platform Indonesian or equity crowdfunding platform, and you can take a look of how they work and how they are structured. And then we will move on seeing some example of crowdfunding campaigns. As Paolo said before, we decided to provide to you different campaigns from different organizations, and we will see how they are structured, and I will give to you some tricks in order that you have the starting point if tomorrow you would like to think about crowdfunding, use crowdfunding to collect funds. Okay, so what a crowdfunding platform looks like. We decided to present to you Produzioni dal Basso, which is one of the most popular Italian platform, okay? She provides donation and reward. It provides donation and reward project. Let me skip on the website so you can easily have a look on this. Okay, every crowdfunding platform has, of course, their presentation, introduction, okay? They usually provide to you data of their activity. So here they say that they have more than 3,600 users, okay, which are the contributors, the backers, the crowd. and they say to you how many funds they collected. Then you have the section where you can find the projects, okay? In this case, you have also a connection with the SDGs, because Produzioni dal Basso is a platform which is very focused on impact and on the sustainable development goals. So they provide support for crowdfunding campaign, but they also evaluate how these projects have an impact on the Agenda 2030, okay, of the United Nations. And then you have here some other data, like active projects here, or how many projects were already financed. And this is interesting. This platform is interesting also because they do a lot of partnership with private and public institutions in order to do match funding activities, which are basically the ones I mentioned to you before. So for those that are not Italian, we have banks, we have municipalities, we have Hub, which decided to not donate, but to invest, okay? They're part of the budget in crowdfunding projects, okay? So I just spent a few minutes more here just to show you some projects, okay? I go here to explore, and you can pick a project for a category, okay? Or just here you have the categories. So books, films, music, concerts, art. If you are interested in some specific project, okay? Environment, fundraising, personal fundraising, theater, and so on. Or you can just scroll on all the projects and then decide what's the most interesting for you as contributor, okay, as backer. Okay, everything seems clear.
Elisa, I just want to add one information, and
yeah,
this
sure.
is useful for the project that we are running and this crowdfunding platform that we are building. This example, Produzioni dal Basso, is very much like to the platform that is going to be published by the partnership, because the kind of projects that are supported here are very much coming from, well, not only, but there are a lot of projects coming directly from specific communities with a strong social element, social impact. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting example for what we are talking inside the project.
Yeah. Thank you, Paolo. To do an insight on this, I just would like to show you something we worked on, which is the initiative of the municipality of Venice. Just give me a second. Okay, here the municipality of Venice decided to co-financing that kind of project which collected like 5,000 euro through crowdfunding. So if here are the project. If the project creator or the organization was able to collect the 50% of the total amount of the project, the municipality of Venice decided to contribute with the other 50% to the financing of the project. And as Paolo said before, they are all projects with an impact. For example, this one is for the climate changes and for the high water of Venice. I don't know if you know the problem. And this is the creation of a web radio for youngs. This is a project for social inclusion and integration of migrants. in the municipality of Venice. And as you can see, as I said before, if they collected 5,000 euro through crowdfunding, they have the other 5,000 euro through the municipality of Venice. So here an example of a match funding activities that that create an opportunity for this type of organization to realize project with a high impact on the local communities. Okay, so that was just an excursus to let you understand better. Okay, now let's move on the characteristics of the crowdfunding campaign. Okay, so what they looks like. The first example that we wanted to report is the crowdfunding initiative proposed by the René Magritte Museum. I don't know if you have heard about it. The René Magritte Museum is in Brussels, and they basically wanted to expand their collection of arts. Okay, and thanks to the support of citizens, they raised 15,000 euro. Now, oh no, I skipped to the next slide. I'm sorry. And let's see the campaign in order to understand what is fundamental, okay? Because of course, crowdfunding is not just a matter of project, but it's also a matter of communication. So if you have a good project, you should be good also at communicating it to the others. So you have to think about the description of the project. You should think about how many funds you want to raise. You have to describe to the others how the funds that you will collect, they will be used in your project, okay? And as we said before, these are all rewards campaign. So all the organization provides to backers a series of reward in order to thank them for their contribution. So in every crowdfunding campaign, you will find a video, okay? The video is important because on one side, you have the chance to explain with words, okay? You have the chance to speak directly to your audience, to your crowd, which is difficult because everything is online, so you don't have this direct contact, but through the video, the donors will feel more closer to you, okay? And also is important because you have the chance to get the others know you. You show your face, you present your organization, you describe your activities, and you ask for funds directly, okay? Then you have this section in which usually is described the crowdfunding campaign. So the objectives of the project, why you want to promote this project, how many money do you need, okay? All the things related to your project. In this case, we have an introduction of the museum, okay? So the story of the museum, the requests to expand the exhibition, the collection, the reference of other pages, so website page of the museum, the Facebook page, the Instagram page. But if you have LinkedIn, Twitter, you can also add this, because this is just, you know, like the where the people go to donate. But you have to promote your crowdfunding campaign through all your channels. So through your website, through your social pages, through your mailing list if you have one, and so on. And as you can see at the right of the page, you have all the rewards. So to every amount of money, they corresponded a reward. Okay, so I know if I decide to contribute to this campaign with 10 euro At the end of the campaign, I will receive a diploma of the sponsored work, so the work I paid for the museum by it, and the entrance, I will pay the entrance €6 instead of 10. Okay, if I decide to contribute with €500, I have all the things that was included in the first reward. Okay, you can see that I have the diploma here, and I have the diploma also in the other reward. But I have also the mention of my name on the website of the museum. I have an opening invitation for 2 people, a personalized guide tour, and so on. Okay. So if you think about to promoting your own project through a reward crowdfunding campaign, you have to keep in mind that you have structured right rewards. Okay. Let's move on. So this is promoted by a public body, okay, the museum itself. Now we will see another crowdfunding campaign, which is promoted by a person, okay? We have this Sandrine, which is a French girl living in Lisbon, which decided to use crowdfunding to finance the creation of a cultural cafe. She's an artist, and she wants to, at first, to create this kind of cafe to show her works, but then she wanted also to provide a cultural space for the local community. Okay, so let's see this other one. About this campaign. Okay. Keep in mind that we are now checking campaigns, but each campaign is published on a different platform. Crowdfunding was the first, and this is called Indiegogo. Okay, but they are structured as the first one that I showed to you. So they have explore here, where you can search projects, and then you have this part where you basically register, and then you can publish your own crowdfunding campaign. Okay. Here again, we have the video. We have the amount of money that she wants to collect. Okay, she went in overfunding. When you exceed your financial goal, it's called overfunding, because you are asking for €20,000 and you receive €22,000. Okay, so this is a sign that your crowdfunding campaign went more than well. And the structure is quite the same. We have a different purpose. We have a different promoting entity, but the campaign, how it is structured, is the same. She said who she is, why she wants to do it, where the cafe will be located. Okay, she describes herself and describes all the things that she wants to do once she will collect the funds she's asking for. Okay, so part of the project will focus on art, but part of the project will be also to spread culture, to do workshop, as you can read, cultural events, tea room, cafe. And it's a very beautiful example of how people can do great things thanks to the support of the others. Okay, and here the same, you have the reward. You can see here €10 reward, included items, a signature postcard. Okay, you have different rewards for different amount of contributions. Social media profile picture. Okay, she proposed all rewards that are linked with her crowdfunding campaign. Okay, we are not talking about that she wants to create this app and then she gives to you a laptop to thank you for the contribution, because she's creating something for art. So she decided to give as reward all items related to art. Okay. The last one is another crowdfunding campaign, which is called Little Africa 2.0, because this cultural agency, which operated primarily in the tourism sector, decided to use crowdfunding to create this multidisciplinary space in Paris to share the African culture, organizing events, workshop, creating some kind of interest around this topic. Okay, here the platform is the same, so it's still Indiegogo, but as we can see, the promoting entities is in this case an NGO. Okay, so an association, a cultural association. And here again we have the video. Here again we have another example of overfunding, because if you see, they ask for 30,000 euro and they reach more than Paolo, do you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
It's connected to this. I didn't want to interrupt your...
Don't worry.
Paula is writing a question in the chat, and it's about the case when the creators succeed to raise only 30 or 50% of the amount. What's happening with the amount that are collected but are not enough to reach the goal? So okay. Are they going back? Okay.
Understood. Allora, so Paola, there are two options that platform used to operate. The first one is keep it all, which is a mechanism in which the platform decided that you can keep the amount of money that you collect even if you didn't reach the funding goal. So if you decided to do a crowdfunding campaign with the keep it all mechanism, if you have 10,000 euro to collect and you collect just, I don't know, 7,000, you can keep that 7,000, okay? The other model is the all or nothing model, okay? Where the platforms say to you, or you reach the total amount of the funding goal, or we didn't transfer to you anything of the money that you collect. So in this case, you lose all the money that you collect if you don't reach the funding goal. That's because if you have your campaign, which is online for 2 months, you did not receive the money every time that someone contributes to your campaign, but the platform keep all the money, okay, during the period of your campaign, and then at the end of your campaign, they transfer the money to you, okay, to the project creator. And that's usually when you reach a platform, you can ask for their costs and for their models. So you can ask how many money, or if they have a fee that you have to pay as a project creator in order to publish your crowdfunding campaign. And you can ask if they provide to you a services of keep it all or nothing. So also based on this, you can decide on which platform you want to publish your crowdfunding campaign. And another things that you have to know about the platform is that they could have different fees, okay? There is this success rate fee, okay, that you pay based on the reachment of the financial goal. So you don't have to pay nothing at the start of the campaign to publish your campaign online, but you have to pay, for example, a percentage of, I don't know, 3 or 5% on the funding goal. This means that if you if you have this success rate at 5%, okay, and your funding goal is 20,000 euro, you will pay 5% of 20,000 euro just in case that you reach your funding goal. If you don't reach it, you don't have to pay nothing, okay? But if you go in over funding, so if you will reach at the end of the campaign 25,000 euro, you will pay the 5% of 25,000 and not the 5% of 20,000, okay? And this is one model. The other model is the flat fee, which is basically just a fixed amount of money that you pay at the beginning of your crowdfunding campaign, so at the moment of the launch, the publication. And it does not depend on the fact that you will reach or you won't reach your funding goal. So the amount of money is fixed and you have to pay it at the moment of the post of your campaign. Okay, and this is also a criteria that you have to consider when you selected the platform, which is the most suitable for your project, basically. Okay, perfect. So
thank you.
Don't worry. So we was discussing about this. So this is a non-profit organization, a cultural organization that wants to promote the basically the African culture in Paris. And they wait a minute. Okay, they have this kind of introduction of who they are, of their work, the previous work. And they have here also the prospectus of the place that they want to buy and that they want to create, and all the description of the activities that they want to do in it. Okay, so educational tourism, curate events, conversation about diversity, events, courses. Okay, and here again we thought that it was very interesting to show to you these types of initiatives and this type of crowdfunding campaign, because they are well structured, they are well described. Okay, there is everything inside. They show their face, they speak with the donators, and they explain to them why they are contributed and why they need funds and how these funds will be used. Okay. They also added here a social impact analysis, or okay, the goals. Say to me if I'm scrolling too fast. They here have also a risk analysis of the project, which is not so used to do in crowdfunding campaign, but the more information you add to your campaign, the more people perceive that you are transparent, okay? And they kind of trust you and they decide to donate to you, to contribute to your project. And here again, we have some rewards, which are related to the project, okay? So we don't have craft or culture rewards or piece of arts, but we have African item because they want to share their culture. So if I'm interested in contributing to the cause, I will be happy, of course, to have maybe this little Africa t-shirt, okay? Of course, the estimated value of the t-shirt is not 75 euro. I mean, the real value of a t-shirt is not 75 euro, but it's kind of a value that they gives to the item, so the money that they need to invest in doing the items, in doing the rewards, and part to the support the cause. Because of course, if they do a completely match between the real price and the price of the item in the crowdfunding campaign, it probably they go down in creating the rewards, okay? So they usually rewards should represent the market price of the items, but of course you can also push it in a positive way in order to let the others understand that you are not just donating or contributing with your money to get an item back, but you are contributing because you support the cause, you support the project, okay?
Elisa, another question.
Yeah.
Is there any control of the follow-up of the project, or just, you know, when the funding through the platform happened, then there are no chance to control what's going on with the money that
okay,
the crowd
you
provides?
mean by the platform?
Yes.
The platform do some kind of control after the campaign ended?
Yeah, I think this was the question by Paola.
By the platform, no. Okay, the platform is not in charge to come back to you, okay, and say, oh, did you send the rewards that you promised to your crowd, to the people who donate? Okay, then do not have this duty, this responsibility. But of course, if you promise something in return for the contribution, someone can ask you, maybe me as person can write to you saying that I didn't receive my rewards, and then you just promise something that you didn't do. And the fact that you are online and that the information is spread everywhere, I think that the risk for the organization is the fact that you will create around you a bad reputation, okay?
Yes, with the NGOs, it's really clear, because usually they have the practice of fundraising, and they know that if they promise something to, to the donors, exactly, they have to respect that. But I was thinking, to those personal projects where you have, a young person that wants to open a cafe in, I don't know where it was, Lisbon.
Okay.
And then she raised the money, but she never opens the cafe because, she was very good in storytelling, but she doesn't have the practical things in, really opening a cafe.
Okay.
But she receives 20,000 euro.
Okay.
So what's happening with the cafe?
Yeah. Okay, understood. So it's not about the compensation of the reward, but it's about the creation of the project. So how can be sure that I will give to you my money and that you will at the end have the chance to realize the project? Okay. There's no one is 100% sure when you will donate something that they can effectively realize this project. What we suggest is to have always an open communication with the community, because they trusted you, giving to you their money. So if you have any kind of problem, because problem in life exists, and as exists in personal life, they exist also in the realization of some projects. And so we suggest to communicate also the bad part, okay? If I know that 1,000 people donate me in order to create my hub, and I received all the money I needed, but I don't know, I have some problem with the municipality and the building won't be realized till before 1 hour, okay? Or maybe I say that the project will be realized in June, and then for some problem, I have to postpone the realization in September. I just communicate it with the community, with those who trusted in my project, because in this way, they will be involved. Okay, so they will know that you have a problem, but you are still working on it. Yeah. Okay. And this is something that we suggest during all the phases of the campaign. I mean, if the campaign doesn't start when you launch it online, but it starts months before, because you have to think about the project, you have to think about which kind of models you want to use, you have to think about which is the most suitable platform to publish your project, but you have to think also about the people and the organization that can potentially contribute to your project, and you have to map it, and you have to reach them, and you have to say, oh, I'm launching this campaign in 1 month, in 2 months. Do you want to participate? Can you economically participate, or you can just share? Because also sharing the post on the internet is fundamental to reach as much people, the more people you can, you know? So, and during all these phases, you will have to keep in touch to your community, because they are the only people who support you. And this is not on the desk of the platform, it's on the desk of the project creator, because it's the project who has to involve their crowd, and the platform is just the instrument. Okay, it's just the tool to promote the crowdfunding campaign, but it's the association, it's the person, or is the public body who has to map the crowd, who has to share the crowdfunding campaign, who has to involve the people. Okay, and in this,
Elisa, just to add one nice story that we have here in Matera, that is actually taking advantage of the difficulties of realizing cultural enterprise. Actually, it's a group of people that wanted to open a museum in Matera, but that are still facing a lot of problem with bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, what they are doing is that they started with a series of videos where they were storytelling about all these difficulties. And now they have launched a crowdfunding campaign to get funding in order to do more videos, because the videos became, interesting and funny and so viral. So yeah, I think this is also part of what you were saying of making clear that.
Yeah, exactly. Because they trust you, so you have to be transparent, and you have to be also coherent with what you promise. So, Paola, thank you. Don't worry. Have a nice weekend. Okay, we have finished. I think that we are perfectly on time. And I just would like to remind that if you have some questions in next days and you want to reach me, you can write at my email, but you can also add me on LinkedIn. And on the other hand, if you have project ideas, if you want to know more about crowdfunding, about how it works, because of course in 1 hour and a half, we don't have the opportunity to go so in depth with this topic, but we do a lot of things. We do a lot of webinar, of trainings. And if you are interested in, just contact me and I will be happy to help you.
So thank you very much, Elisa. Actually, I have a question for you, which, it's something that will be part of the annuity and regulation. So
Yeah.
I was reading about this new EU regulation that is entering into force in November about crowdfunding and European platform. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I didn't mention the legal framework of crowdfunding because it's still confusing. Okay, but last week, the 10th of November, the European regulation for crowdfunding entered into force. At the national level, we already have a regulation for crowdfunding, but just for the equity and lending model. So we have an equity dedicated legislation for equity platform, which provide that they need to be registered and authorized by the CONSOB, which is the national authority. And we have the legislation of the Testo Unico Bancario, which is the legislation for banks in Italy. And it was extended to crowdfunding for the lending model. And this was previously before the application of the European regulation. With the European regulation on crowdfunding, we have this switch. So the crowdfunding market, the European crowdfunding market, open the activity to all the member states. So if I have a platform in Italy, from now I can also think about open another operational center in another country of Europe, which is something that you cannot do before. So I can work in Italy as well as in France, in Germany, as I want. Of course, I have to study the market before. But the fact that the legislation is the same for all the member states, it becomes easier to market operators to work on different countries. And this means also that they can also attract foreign investors. So if I operate in Italy, I have the Italian legislation, and then I can attract just Italian investors. Now I can potentially operate in all the member states, and I can attract all the European investors. Okay, but the difficulties with this European regulation is the fact that the European institution don't recognize a European authority which has to control on the bodies, okay, on the platforms. So it is not clear if they will design an European body to control on this operation, or if every national state has to design its own authority to crowdfunding operators. Okay, so this is not clear, and the fact that the regulation entered in force from 1 week, more or less, we are now trying to understand what is the the next move from each country in order to be aligned at the European level. Okay, so we don't know if CONSOB and Banca d'Italia for Italy will remain the controlling authority of equity platforms and lending platforms, or if they decide to design another authority, or if there will be an European authority which will control on the regulation of these entities. But we will see it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting approach, and also for us, it's important to know.
Yes, of course.
We are going quite ambitious and trying to design a European platform already from its nature. So Okay, I don't know if there are other questions coming maybe from the audience.
No, I see just a lot of thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
really,
you, Sophie.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elisa, for the presentation and for being able to present the wider picture, but also to go more into the details. I think it was very, very interesting. So just before we close and I leave you to your weekend, we are organizing other series of online events for the SELC project. So of course, this is an invitation to follow our social media and keep note of the next webinars. And of course, as we were saying at the beginning, this webinar has been registered, so it will be soon available online for those who wants to see it again, or just for sharing with other people in your team. Thank you very much again, Elisa. Thank you all for being with us, and have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.